series of internal emails and documents coming out of East Anglia University in the UK, a major center for climate research. And what these documents revealed is that these climate experts themselves, the big propagandists for the global warming swindle, in many instances knew that what they were doing was cooking the books and faking the numbers, and it's created an enormous crisis going into the Copenhagen summit, which now President Obama says proudly that he's going to go there and lead the American delegation and try to peddle this swindle through, even though at this point it's kind of a dead letter. What's the impact of this recent expose?
Well, this is a lot of fun. I mean, we've always known and always said that this whole global warming thing, man-made global warming, is a complete fraud and fabricated data. So it's nice to see some of the emails leaking out and things like that. It fundamentally doesn't tell us anything we didn't already know.
Exactly.
But it helps a lot of other people who don't understand the scientific issues. Now, this has made it a very hot political item. And since there are a lot of people who are beginning to understand that this green policy is, in fact, fascism, that the way in which you cover for deindustrializing the world is to paint it green, sort of paint a green happy face on it and say, this is protecting the planet.
Right.
Because, as an advertising slogan, we're for genocide, we're going to kill you, is probably not really a good way to sell something.
Exactly. Well, we were having a discussion the other day that if you go back to the period immediately, I mean literally months and a year at the most, after the end of World War II, when the concentration camps were first opened up and people saw what the horrors were of what the Nazis did in the name of this population reduction, eugenics, euthanasia, a group of senior British establishmentarians, members of the House of Lords, leading mandarins in the bureaucracy, people like Sir Peter Scott, Julian Huxley, Aldous Huxley, a number of others, created a whole series of conservation organizations. The actual founders of this movement basically said, look, we're calling it conservation because eugenics got a bad rap from Hitler. And we are continuing along the same exact policy lines. Massive population reduction, return to a kind of a form of oligarchical feudalism on a global scale. Prince Philip and Prince Bernhard, both of whom were Nazis. In fact, Bernhard was a card-carrying member of the SS. They formed the World Wildlife Fund and built off of that a whole alphabet soup of radical environmental groups. And this became the prevailing ideology of originally the counterculture and now the hegemonic and dominant culture in the Western world in particular. So this has always been a continuation, an unbroken continuation off of the eugenics and euthanasia policies, the anti-science radicalism of the British oligarchy and their various allies and hangers-on.
Yeah, they're very vulnerable right now because the monetary system, which has given them all their power, has blown up. And it's very easy at this point if we organize and people act together to topple this thing. Okay, I mean, you have the idea is you shut down the monetary system. That the monetary system, what a monetary system is this is the way in which the empire is organized.
Right.
So you need to beat the empire. You need to shut that thing down. You take power away from it. It exists because it has control over money, the control over the issuance of money through central banks, the control over the price of money through the ability to control interest rates and things like that. So you take that away from them. You go back to a credit system, as we have in the American system. You put the whole system through bankruptcy. You write off all the speculative debts. You write off all the nonsense associated with the monetary system. You protect real debts connected to real economic activity, and you put your money into rebuilding the physical economy, to rebuilding our productivity. And then you take this concept, you set up on a global basis, fixed exchange rate, so there's no more currency speculation. And then we have a treaty agreements with Russia, China, and India to form a bloc which is powerful enough to make sure that the empire is defeated. And we invite other nations to join that bloc. So you have a force which is powerful enough to assert its will and change the direction of the world. And that's the idea, and that's extremely doable right now. And I think we're on the verge of making some big changes here in the United States because this system is dying. The people who support it are hated. You know, who's more hated in the United States in Congress today than Nancy Pelosi and Barney Frank? I mean, Barney Frank, this clown who, bail out Barney, he supposedly supported the Ron Paul bill until it started passing, and then he had to come out against it.
Right, exactly.
You know, just the most duplicitous, sleazy stuff you can imagine. So, but they're on the run because the American people hate their guts, with good reason.
For now, I think, John, you really kind of did a perfect summary right there in terms of the moment right now where the crisis, the global crisis, has reached a crescendo, but where the population is clearly fed up. The message is getting across even to some people in Congress that the two options that are now on the table are continuing to go with Obama, which is a sinking ship, and in which case they'll go down with him and the United States will be destroyed. It will be destroyed. Mm-hmm. Not because of the effectiveness of Obama as a tool of this British oligarchy, but because everything is coming unglued. I think on that note, we'll just call it a show and thank all of you for joining us.